Have you ever just sat there on the computer just fiddling around with the sliders, the settings, and really getting nowhere? And you looked at your screen for so long that you can't even tell what's what anymore, and it all pretty much looks the same. At that point, you're probably thinking, am I over editing this, or am I spending the time to make this look really, really good? And there is a fine line between the two. A possible sign that you may be over editing is that you're constantly undoing, redoing to look at the changes you've made. Even though they are so minor, it really doesn't make a difference. Another sign is that you're just editing for the sake of editing. Maybe you've hit a roadblock and you just want to plow through it, and that's all well and good. But then you just start to tweak and tweak and tweak until you've got to the point where, hey, does this actually look good at all? And even you can't answer that. Or sometimes you just don't have someone to give you feedback at that moment, and there's no use plowing on through those edits without making any progress. So here are 3 tips to get yourself back on track. Tip number 1, take a break. Yes, you've probably already guessed this, and it's an obvious one, but guess what? It actually works. When you're feeling a bit tired, it does help to step away from the screen, and preferably not to another screen like your phone or a TV or anything else like that, and come back later to your edits. Now, I completely understand you may be so into your edits that you can't tear your eyes off the screen, but doing so not only helps give your eyes a refresh, but you might even get a fresher perspective on your edits. Tip number 2. So if you're questioning whether you have over edited your photos, one principle that I use and always come back to is less is more. When I ask myself whether I've turned that slider too far to the left or too far to the right, or if something's too saturated or too dark or too bright or whatever it may be, I always come back to this principle: less is more. It's not so much a science as it is a perspective, as I generally find looking at a under-edited photo more pleasing than an over-edited photo. And this is why I follow this principle quite often. Your taste may be different, but this has helped me quite a few times. And before I get to the last tip, do you have any unique methods that you use to prevent over-editing, or even realize you are over-editing? Leave a comment down below and let me know. And lastly, tip number 3. And this one depends on the type of setup that you have. When I mean setup, I mean your monitor and any other screens that you may have to look at your photos. So I have an LG monitor, and I use an iPhone 13. And this setup is obviously going to be different for everybody, so your results may vary. And usually I find what happens is I have a good edit on my monitor, and then I export it. The photos on my iPhone look way more contrasty and sometimes a bit too much to my liking. And so I'll go back to the edit and adjust accordingly. It is a good way for me to look at the photos from really a completely different perspective, because you are viewing your photo on a completely different medium. And that's it. Those are the tips I use when I think I'm over editing a photo. If you find the video useful, check out my other one here. Have a wonderful day. Until next time, bye.